Right. Welcome, everybody, to Conscious Collective Show. Another Wednesday evening, and I am feeling very excited about tonight. It's lovely to have Jana and Tineke on the show. Welcome.
Kia ora, everyone.
I always like to kind of let it populate a little bit. We had a couple of issues with the link because I misspelt something on the actual blurb, and so I had to change that. And I think sometimes that changes the link, so sometimes it just takes people a second to find us. Hopefully it's not too hard. But anyway, tell me about your day. How are things going for you right now?
Well, it's been a cold one in Auckland, actually. we've got a fireplace like Rick's, actually. I'll just show everyone. There it is.
It's kind of like my party. It's a party trick, isn't it, Tineke? Yeah, totally. So like, we had a lovely. I've been pretty fortunate. We had Kimberly and Leanne have dinner with us on Sunday evening, and the fireplace with the cooking point turns. It's pretty cool. But that was such a lovely night with them. And then on actually Sunday during the day, we stopped off. I was in Whangamata for the weekend. Had the most amazing weekend discovering kind of beaches and places I've never been. We had to kind of walk 20 minutes, climb down a cliff, and then you get to this incredible secluded beach. And once again, I was like, we live in paradise. Unbelievable. And then on the way home, we popped into to Penny's house to say hello, and she made us a cup of tea. So Sunday was a very filling day for me. And actually, Penny bought me this incredible book. And I don't know if you can see that. It's called Love Poems from God. And so what it is, it's called the 12 Sacred Voices from the East and the West. So poets like Rumi and Hafiz and St. Francis of Assisi, all people that I absolutely adore, all their poems collated in this book. And she said when she saw this book, I think she had it, she said, there's only one couple that I can see reading bedtime poems to each other and going, wow, look at this one. And it's Maria and I. So I thought that was really sweet. And she's right. But I wanted to start tonight with just a beautiful poem from here, if that's okay.
Yes, please. And Penny, I'm coming for my coffee.
For a cup of tea. I'm inviting us all, Penny. We're coming. I'm sure her natural hermit self would love that. It's called The True Nature of Your Beloved. Know the true nature of your beloved. In his loving eyes, your every thought, word, and movement is always, always beautiful. Very short and sweet. And I love that because as I reflect on that, I think every single one of us has this relationship with that part of ourselves. Some people call it the observer. Ram Dass calls it loving awareness. And it's that part of ourselves that we can kind of tap into, where we look at every part of ourselves and we can say, you are beautiful. Like, look at yourself with complete love and love every part of yourself. And I think some people call that God's love or divine love or self-love, but that is a very special relationship that you can have. So that's where my mind's a little bit been on, is how important it is to connect to that part of yourself that loves you and looks back. There you go. That's my little for the morning.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. Yes, so important to be judging so many, all the big aspects of ourselves and small aspects. And I think we can grow up in a culture where, we have such harsh judgment. And where is it that we actually turn around and actually go, well, how can I truly love others if I actually am not even loving myself?
Yeah,
Just
right.
Yes, just before we started as well, we've got this book that we like to open up, and it has messages for us. And one of them was simplify, isn't it? And also find that compassion for yourself. That's where it all starts.
Yeah.
So here we go.
A compassionate heart, but the compassion has to start for you first. Yeah.
I love that. I have a belief that underneath all the stories that we tell ourselves and all the thoughts and beliefs about who we think we are, when we get silent and get underneath that, all we are left with is love. And I think obviously so much of our childhood we get judged and we judge ourselves, and all those voices they say your parents' voice becomes your internal voice, right? Like, don't do this, do this right, you're doing this well, you're not doing that well. And so the game of life seems to be undoing those things, letting them flow through and connecting to that deeper part of yourself, which I really do think is love.
Yeah. And time is of the essence really as well. I think, I've heard many people say, oh, I went 10 years, I went 20 years, I went 30 years before I had these realizations, and with maturity, maybe, that can be, helpful. But I think if you can get it early on, it can be a real blessing in your life if you can capture that spirit and capture your spirit. Yeah.
Yeah. I know that you have a passion for the well-being of teachers and kaiako. I'm sure most carers and people, and I know that emanates from what you do. I'm curious to know the latest foundation which you guys have set up, and quite keen to start there, called Nurture People. Do you mind jumping in there for us? Because I just am so excited about the prospect of where this is going and how this can support us as a sector. So let's jump in there. Tell me what that's about. What's inspired it?
That's quite a journey, isn't it? It's been, it has its own whakapapa too, doesn't it? And the whole story behind it. And it started in 2000, in Rapeti, hasn't it?
Yeah, yeah. It started when we met each other at Rapeti Early Learning Centre, which was a centre that my mother and I, beautiful Yolanda, she had this wonderful dream to own her own centre, and she'd been an early childhood teacher since she was 20. And this was in her late 50s, 60s, that she made this approach saying, hey, Tineke, got this idea and this potential, and it was like a dream. It was like it was meant to happen. I had a beautiful blessing of a baby at 40, which I think also was when she threw Penny Brownlee's Dance With Me in the Heart book at me, literally threw it and said, read this. It's going to change the way you
Sure.
So that it started there for me. And then when he was 2.5, we went into the venture of Rapeti. And it was, a transformation that was not just the two of us. It was, finding the right team and the right people to grow with as much as we had and as much as everyone else bought, to be able to grow a centre that we were proud of, that was a respectful, heart-led centre and child-led centre. So, 7 years of that, but then sort of a couple of years into that, this beautiful woman came in our door looking for some possible part-time teaching, and she had a little one.
I did.
At that point.
Yes, I had my little girl Ivani at that point with me, and I just remember that instant connection with Tineke. You know, when you meet some people in your life and you just know, I've met you before. I think we will really connect, and we did. I think our real connection was over supporting communities and families, especially with the younger children, before they even start the learning center. And yes, I had my official interview. Maybe this is a tip as well, Rick, at the back of Rapeti, next to rubbish bins, with Yolanda's dog playing around with my daughter.
That's how we did things then. You know, we went outside for interviews, and sorry, it was by the rubbish. But
I like that. I like that. Let's get close to nature. That's where we're going to really connect.
That's right. But yes, that was the connection we made, and then we decided, you know, let's do this. Let's do all the Penny Brownlee's courses that we can, so she can really help us to see picture and guide us through, and that's how it was all born. And I think when you decided to pass over Rapeti to, you know, another kind hands, another person who had the heart,
beautiful parent Nikki and her whānau have taken on that beautiful centre, and it's continuing with the same heart. I mean, I've been back there to relieve, and it's a heart-filling experience. But for me, it was definitely time to be able to utilise my time to move into something a little bit more, to spread the word and spread the love even further. And so when Jana and I spoke, we decided that we needed to take that focus. So, and then we also, through having the parent classes in the community centre next door, we decided that it was just so meaningful and rich what was happening there, that we wanted to be able to extend that, but also to make it possible for many, if not all people, to be able to experience this without cost. And so that was where we made that decision to make it a charitable trust. And to be able to really reach out to those people that maybe wouldn't even be able to necessarily afford expensive parenting classes, or afford that kind of professional development support in their centre, or for themselves as mentors and things. So, and we saw that need with teachers, we saw that need with students coming into the centre as well. That, really, it was so eye-opening for them. And, you can only get so many parents and so many students coming through at one time. So we had to look to a bigger picture, and that was Nurture People.
I have many little questions in there, but one thing that particularly just stood out for me that I'm interested in, because that's probably where we're kind of currently at, looking at some of our stuff in our centres. As you mentioned, doing the parenting program next door in the community centre. So help me understand what that looked like, and because that sounds so rich. I remember sitting with Penny, and we'll talk about Penny in a second, because she's obviously inspired the work that you've done, and I'm interested to know more. But she said to me, it's so important that we get to the mothers and the fathers. We have to get to the mothers. And she was quoting actually another inspiring New Zealander when she said that. So tell me about your experience. Yes.
Is that Celia Lashley?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's exactly who it was.
She's big for us as well.
So tell me about what that process was, and how you guys ran that, and what impact you saw.
So the way it all started first, the intention was that we saw that all these mothers and, parents or caregivers, they were burnt out a little bit. They were wanting sense of community that they were lacking, because what we've noticed and realized is too that we are living in a society of knowledge. There's just so much knowledge everywhere. We can read books, we can, listen to all these beautiful webinars and everything. But it's about how you implement it. How are you making it happen? What is the reality? So that was the reason why we decided to do it, to sort of empower the parents. But so what we did, we started with parent and infant group first, and we wanted those groups to be really small and nurturing. So we've had 6 to 8 families coming on board, and that was something that was sponsored by Rapeti. Heavily.
Yeah, so
it families who would enroll in your centre, and then you would invite them to come to the parenting, or were they just from the community, or how did that work?
Both.
Yeah, and then obviously it also led to parents coming to the course, and then obviously thinking, actually I really connect with this and I want my child to come to Rapeti. So it was twofold. We had the going both ways. And I suppose that, the thing that was amazing about that was that parents and teachers were on the same page, and were and that was just for the well-being of the child. That, that's just gold, isn't it? And I think for us, yes, that the centre was financially supporting those classes to be able to be. So that is something that if a centre was thinking about that, it might mean that they have to make that commitment, that as part of their teacher's time, that they would be paying into the salary. Obviously, it would be time that would be dedicated to the classes running. If you've got your own space, obviously, that makes a big difference. And I think there are definitely some people in the country have those separate places for these things to happen, which I think when you're designing a centre, that's perfect. If you can have a community hub where parents feel really included, and education is goes beyond the child, and it looks at the whole whānau being nurtured and educated and supported, and the design of that centre celebrates that. Yeah, thumbs up for that one.
There was a fee, a certain amount,
but
it was very little.
We did have a fee,
and what was the parenting classes that you ran, and did you send your teachers for training, or how did it work?
So it was just Jana and I that ran those classes, although there are, since our teachers have gone through Penny's training as well, and facilitated training to be able to do this now as well. But at that time, it was just us. Penny's, when you do her facilitated training, it's wonderful. You get a booklet, which the parents get. You get your booklet, and you're guided through 10 weeks of being able to take different themes and aspects of this respectful approach. So it's really good, because it really helps to guide you and to set you up. And I think as you grow in confidence, then you can move with that more. But initially, it's just such a great setup, and it really helps you to be able to engage with the parents as well, and for the parents to have those booklets to engage with their partners and their whānau, extended, grandparents, etc. at home, to say, hey, this is what I'm trying, and this is what I've read, and and so there's that sharing that can go on as well. Yeah,
absolutely. Are there children with you during the parenting classes, or are they? This is what I've always felt to be quite good, because the having some of the parenting courses, I know that's quite well known out there. It's pretty much removing the adult from that relationship with the child, and then doing kind of like a theoretical work course, and then you're back with the child, but you never have that guidance in the relationship. So I think that's beautiful.
the whole focus is on relationships, and you can't do it without that person being present there, without the child. And that is the biggest learning that happens when you see this child in front of you, interacting with others, and also that connection that you have. So Penny Brownlee as well talks about it, seeing the child with new eyes. And literally, we did have parents who said that towards the end, they actually noticed things that they wouldn't before. And that's what it is all about. It's about empowering parents to see something that they haven't seen. It's not really about feeding them new information, but guiding them through to sharpen their lenses.
Yeah. And then you're able to see the interaction and the relationship. Hey,
absolutely,
that's there.
happening.
And so, I mean, that's just a really, really important. And as part of that, the other, partners were always welcome. So sometimes it was able to be both parents and sometimes even grandparents. So, it's once again, you can't close that off, and it means more in the room. But that, that's authentic and that's right, you'd never close that door.
It almost feels like the village. It feels, if the grandparents are there or an auntie, there's more support. There's someone that can help, not accountability, because that sounds like a little bit of a wrong and right, but like at least support and have conversation with about how it's going.
Yeah.
I love that. So Oma Rapeti, it sounds like a place where you formed a lot of your ideas and kind of really honed in on what it takes to be a hard-led, respectful place of practice. Share with us a little bit about what you think it takes as a leader in a place like that to create a culture where people love to be and where children are celebrated and respected.
The first weekend I came in and I saw where the infants were, I said to my mother, Yolanda, I was like, this has to change, and like right away, they can't be here, it was just, some of those things. And she just, I think she put her hand on my shoulder and she said, Tineke, this is going to be step by step, and I absolutely, the infants should not be out the back with no outside area. Absolutely. But, we're going to have to move and change this, slowly, step by step. And as well with growing the team, it was what we could afford at the time and who was in place. We did have to make those assessments, but then as we could afford to, we made those permanent placements of people who came wanting the same thing and were ignited with this fire to have be in a centre where, there was this approach. And so, I think that's the thing. The biggest lesson for me was that's, just you want it to happen overnight, but it's the learning and growing and step by step that and doing it together as well. I think one of my biggest lessons as a leader was that I realized I had to actually, if I wanted my team to engage, I actually had to step a little bit away from some things, and including some team meetings, because I think my heart for it was so strong and my voice was so strong sometimes that could actually silence others. And so that was a big lesson for me, was to really embrace everyone's voice and to bring everyone's beautiful ideas and gifts, to it. So I know, Jana, you saw me learning all of that.
I did actually. I saw it from a different perspective, which was really quite good and powerful for me too. But I have such beautiful memories of being at Oma Rapeti and having this relationship with all these people, these kayaka who were there. Like, they were all in a way handpicked because they were driven by the same they were driven by love. They were driven by love for humanity, really. You know, they really wanted to make a difference in their own way. And they were doing it in different way. But I suppose the work of Dr. Pikler and Magda Gerber, and then we brought a bit of, you know, the work of Rudolf Steiner into it too. That was a little framework. That was almost that security for us, in which we could bounce around a little bit. So there was that freedom for exploring where we all could bring our own authenticity and our gifts. But we had this framework too that was grounding us during that time. So it was quite a journey.
Yeah, and I think as everyone grew in their confidence, then, you know, the leadership, everyone starts to happen, and people start to, be excited about taking on responsibilities and trialing things. And sometimes it is like where you recognize that actually you might even know that what a teacher's about to trial is probably not going to maybe end up in the best result or the result they were thinking of. But then where does the learning happen for the teacher as well in that? And so, you know, with support and actually allowing that to happen, then with the children and the teacher, the best learning can happen through that. So sometimes, you know, you can have your ideas and your ideals, but the flexibility means that you've got a real heart for that person's growth rather than just your own, you know, vision.
Yeah, for sure. I think that it's so valuable there, because as a leader who wants to bring a transformation to a culture, or as a teacher, or as a person of influence in your own center, sometimes it can you want to have transformation happen overnight. You desire, because you have a plan and you know that these children deserve your best, and it's just not okay sometimes to see them, like you said, to have the under twos not have an outdoor area, and it can really kind of maybe dig at your passion a little bit. But it's important to know that things take time, and it's okay that it takes time, and that it's about the people and the relationships that you build around yourself, right? That you continue on this journey with. And as you were speaking, that saying that I've heard a few times, it says, if you don't stand for anything, you'll fall for anything. So if you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything, which is kind of like, for me, what that speaks to is, if you have a really strong vision and you really understand the framework and the philosophy of what you want in this place, the why and the how, then people are going to start to actually come, that and be attracted to you. You know, your vibe will attract your tribe, and you're going to start to form the right team that's like, yes, I agree, that's it. Where if you're kind of floundering around and you're not too sure what the vision is, and it's not really, you've kind of left the passion at the door, or often we see in teams that that just attracts the same thing. So I think those are two really valuable things: is have a really clear, passionate vision and dream, and a framework for what you believe in and what this place is about, and then that will start attracting your tribe. And then time, be patient, things will unfold. Is that a reflection of what you found?
I remember writing up the philosophy, you know, like going, okay, because I was a high school teacher, an intermediate teacher, and a primary school teacher before I was an early childhood teacher. Right. So when it came to philosophies, I was like, oh, okay, this is interesting. You know, all of this was quite new. And I remember, I mean, I had some support, but it was really interesting writing it, just kind of try to get the right words and think, oh, well, what is it that we're kind of coming to? But I remember as the years progressed, and then we reviewed it and reviewed the philosophy again, how it was that it was the team that was bringing that and shaping that and growing that. But we did have to have those initial ideas, but then when you watched the ownership come into it and take over, I mean, that's fantastic.
And that's that dance that you just said, is sometimes when you have to step back in order for the ownership to be transferred, in order for your team to get it and contribute and feel like it's their own, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
And just like it's the philosophy of respectful practice and care with our and free movement with our infants, is that we're not going to prop them up, or we're not going to bring the toy to them if or what they're reaching for. We're going to allow them to reach. We're going to allow them to kind of take their own time. So I think sometimes in leadership, when we try and fix the situation or bring the answer, instead of allowing the unfolding of the stuff to struggle through it until they find that aha, we also shortchange their development.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and I just want to say, like I have taught the spectrum, and I've got to say that this is the most important work I think that you could be doing. So those teachers that are tuning in, just aotearoa to you. This is big work, and it comes with a lot of giving. Jana and I were actually talking about that, about how is it that you also work to make sure that you receive as well. And I said to her, if I owned the centre again, one of the things I would be doing is making sure that when we're talking about routines and rhythms, that it actually considers the teacher as much as the child, because so much of it we gear around the children's well-being, but without the well-being of our teachers, then that is not in balance. And I think that's something that I would definitely really say to all managers and owners, that it's so important to make sure that that happens. And I remember sometimes when I would go out into the back kitchen where the staff area was, and it was a real mess, and it was like one of those moments where it was really like, oh, why can't they just tidy up, And I just
wanted to go back to the children.
And I remember being a little bit annoyed about it. And then I stood there and I went, this is actually my job. My job is to make this environment beautiful for them to come out to, when they have been giving such incredible work to these beautiful children. And so instead of actually doing it with, that sort of feeling, I actually did it with a full heart, knowing that I was part of that that we are bringing that joy in each other's day, and making a beautiful environment like they were for the children. Then I could do that for them coming in. And sometimes that's the best thing you can do if you are an owner, is that you do, you're the one that also has to empty the nappy bin and do those things that sometimes are grotty jobs, but it just helps, if you're doing those things with everyone else, it's sharing and caring that load.
The servant leadership. Carry on, Jana.
No, I was just going to say that it's really nurturing the people who are nurturing others in a way. And, if you treat your people who are taking care of the tamariki the same way, they are going to transform that as well. And they're going to do that to the children, with the children too. So, if they're feeling nurtured by someone who is the leader in a way, they will continue nurturing, because they will have capacity, they will feel refueled. And they'll feel seen as well and recognized too. So I think that's important. It's shifting the attitude, and it was noticed when you did that thing. It was really noticed, because it wasn't just a physical shift of the environment. It was more of that emotional shift. We've noticed that love, that more aroha in there, because you did that with no expectation from us. You did that because you wanted to. It was done with love, and that's the difference. That's the big shift.
It is all about the attitude, about the relationship.
This is
what attitude.
Well, this is what we went to the Pikler Institute this year. We were very fortunate to do that, Rick. And Oh, I just remember Aotearoa walking up the stairs. Oh, she's just an incredible woman. And she just keeps saying, it's all about the attitude. It really is. Once you shift that, your perspective, you'll start seeing different things and you'll have different responses from other people.
And you start feeling different things.
You will, yes.
Yeah.
Let's delve into the Pikler approach and your trip to Budapest and also your brushes kind of like with the Pikler approach here in Aotearoa. And was this, you've been to the Pikler Institute before this, or was this your first time?
This was the first time for us. It was planned for a few years actually, but with the family commitments as well, having young children and all the other things that came into our lives, we were finally able to do it, and we were able to do it together. So I was born in former Czechoslovakia, so that was a nice way of going back home and reconnecting with family. And then Tineke actually came into my home village.
That was really special.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. And then we were able to go to Budapest too. Hello.
I was sneaking around, but I thought, come and say hello to the world. Just my youngest.
Oh, beautiful.
They're so good when I have Facebook Lives. Oh, I need to go to the toilet. Oh, there you go. I don't want to keep you in the room then. So I would love to tell me a little bit. Okay, assume I know nothing about the Pikler approach, because I think there are many educators and carers who know nothing and have maybe brushed up against some of the ideas, but possibly not been introduced, or just find it hard to kind of get introduced. So I give us a little bit of a foundational understanding of the Pikler approach, and then where you guys are at and what you're learning.
Well, this is the thing when someone asks you to,
in 10 seconds.
To do it in 10 seconds. It's such amazing. Describe it in a nutshell. It's all the essence of Dr. Emmy Pikler's work for us would be based around relationship and trust in that natural unfolding and in the gifts that the child's already bringing. So really trusting in that and allowing the child to grow within that relationship with the caregiver. So it's a very responsive. You see, this is the thing.
It's partnership.
Really
so the child is capable. So it's like if you see a flower and you know that it will just unfold beautifully and naturally itself, it's the same thing with a child, that you can trust that unfolding will happen as well. So in the sense of their physical development, and in the sense of the connection as well, it's seeing them as human right from the start. So you're not seeing them as something that is just a needy thing that can't communicate, and of course this baby wouldn't survive without you, but you actually see them as a participant in their own life right from the start as well.
Beautiful. And then from there, so that is the image of the child that we hold. And I think in my early learning kind of deep dives, I've probably delved deeper into the Reggio approach over the years with Te Whareki and so on. And so a lot of that rings true for me as well in the language that I believe and I've heard of having the innate gifts and resources that the child comes with, and allowing that to unfold, to be in its own at its own kind of pace and its own dynamics.
Yeah, and I think the wonderful thing about her is that because she ended up being asked to take on an orphanage in Budapest after the Second World War, she had all these babies that were, in need of care. the years from there up until now, where it now is, obviously it's not an orphanage anymore, it's an early learning centre, but the documentation and the observation of these children through all of these years, it's not only that it's just a feeling that she had that this was the right thing. This is thorough research from top physicians and psychologists. She had so many people that came as well and did incredible research to say these things actually do benefit the child. And now those children as adults can be seen to be exceptional in that sense. They are fully contributing people in society, and they, even though they were in an institution, they did not come out institutionalized. And separate studies on the Pikler Institute actually meant that they were awarded a contract with the government to actually take the learning that they had into other orphanages in Hungary. So, I mean, that's how amazing her work was. And then that work has spread globally as well. So, you know, you've now got places in Germany, in the Netherlands, in America, in South America, you know, places that are training institutions for this approach as well. So it's not, yeah, it's amazing where it's growing from this one woman who had these, amazing ideas around the capabilities of children and how if we open our eyes and we stop and we observe what we can actually, you know, be for the child and also be for ourselves. Yeah.
So
Jana.
I assume that in the context of an orphanage, really we're talking about group care for infants. Is that accurate? So really what the philosophy was birthed in a space where, you know, adults had to deal or have relationship with children who are not from their, I suppose, not blood relations, and in a group setting. So I can understand how important it is for us to really deeply understand what it was that has created this beautiful environment and then apply it into our settings. So how does that translate for an early childhood centre in Aotearoa with 12 to 15 babies or under 2s or under 3s or whatever with 4 teachers? What does that look like?
So it is like you mentioned, Tineke, it's all based on that relationship and having that special trusted person that will connect with the family and the child. But in an early learning center, how does that look like? So right from the beginning, a teacher will be available to have this time to build this relationship with the family that's coming on board, for example. And you would have, let's say that you have 12 children in a group and 3 or 4 teachers. So if you had 3 kayako or educators there, you would have, ratio that would be 1 to 3 and 1 to 4, depending on the numbers of the teachers.
Ideally, 1 to 3 ratio. Yeah. I mean, the orphanage, it was, I think, 1 to 8, was it?
I can't recall that right now.
Yeah, it was a really quite a high number. But yes, ideally, a 1 to 3 ratio.
Yes, I suppose, you can call it a primary caregiving system, and that's what many people refer to as the building of this relationship. But it's not exclusive, and that's what they were strongly expressing as well. So what was really important was that you especially have that connection with that child or with few children, but you also have relationships with all of them, and there's that continuity of care. So you really know that child really well. You know the special things they really like, for example, even changing, and you're really taking time to build that relationship. Yes.
So primary, I like the point you pointed out. So primary care, which is a word that has grown in popularity within Aotearoa, driven by the work that, again, Penny and a lot of our kind of Pikler inspired centres have talked about. And then you've also said, but it's not exclusive, which I think is also interesting. I get that question a lot with our centres is, you know, primary care, yeah, it sounds good, but then that they have to go on a break or they're sick or, you know, and it's kind of like, how do you navigate the logistics of primary care in a group setting? And so, yeah, do you kind of have a perspective on that?
Yeah, you have to have, you know, it's like the deputy. You have to have a very close second when it comes to primary care. Like you really, it's really important because, you know, that teacher has to go on a lunch break, for example, or to the toilet or to on annual leave or whatever it is. So it's really important that alongside that, and it's the same in the home environment as well. You know, you've always got that close second or third as well. So it's really important for the teachers to be sharing their knowledge around the children as well, and also making the space for other teachers to build relationship with the children. It can't be exclusive, and and it can be very damaging if egos get in the way around you know, that exclusive primary role. I think in a way it was probably not a great term to give it, but
the primary
caregivers. I mean, you talk about main caregiving. Or givers,
or key person, or someone who is there for those special moments. But
the key people,
right, I've seen that play out for sure. Is these are my children and my children only. Right. it can get a little weird sometimes, but it's. But I understand.
If you're sick, you know what happens. You know, suddenly, you know, those things can. It's got to be flexible, and the child needs to also they learn to trust the environment as well and the people in it. And I mean, there was many times where I had to go and be that person, and say in the under twos room, and it is just really important to, you know, to feel that and make sure that you are respecting the rhythm of the room and just being what you can be for everyone as they are doing those things. But then it's not like you can just say, well, I'm just going to help you out by doing the nappy change when a child doesn't know you, you know. So it is when you have that philosophy or approach, you know, you do have to work with that and keep to that for the well-being of the child.
Yeah, I suppose you know, you can look at it as it's not an ownership over a child. It's you becoming the anchor for the child. So the child comes to you when he or she needs you. Yes, you're not there all the time.
You know, it just makes me think a lot about attachment and the interplay of attachment as an infant learns its way into this world. And is often in the I'm not sure the technical term, I think is exterior gestation, with the 9 months of where they are still figuring out and probably don't have a clue that still don't have the understanding that there's a separation between them and mum. And then to go into a group setting, we have to remember that this is still the period that they're aware of. And so that relationship, as you said, relationship is all. And how important it is to have that key person where they can connect to. And I think my feeling is, and I'd love to know your observation, is that the stronger the attachment is to someone within the centre, the more capable the child will be to almost be okay when they go on a lunch break as well, or you know what I mean, like. Or when they're not there, because there is a strong attachment. Is that something that you've observed?
Yes, I mean, you can get a big emotional expression from a child who sees their absolute favourite teacher go on a lunch break.
Right.
But that doesn't mean necessarily that, that's going to bring, that could be stressful, but in the sense of allowing that emotion to come and that wave to flow, and the other teachers to be there for that child, I think, I think, yes, it gives security to the child, absolutely. But then as well as that, it's like that's my mama in the centre, Yeah.
Right.
So at the Pikler Early Learning Centre, they did promote that it's more over 1 year old that you would come into a centre situation. So they do promote definitely up to a year being in a care situation, ideally with the parents, or a home-based care situation, and they like to take the children after that age. And I think, I think for me, that's really well with me, and even later, I know that, well, Jana, you can talk about this.
Well, I suppose that's a different approach as well, but yes, ideally you are looking at, the first relationship, but also you need to consider the needs of the parents these days too. It's an interesting, game we are playing here. So if, if the parents have to make that choice and bring the children into a care situation, you want to create a very nurturing environment where the child can build that relationship, in which he or she can explore the other relationships in the room too.
It does come down to that, the needs of the whānau and what's available in your situation, your region that you're in, and who you trust as well. It is really important, obviously, that you're creating that trusting environment for the parents and that welcoming environment as well.
That is so key. And to first have the relationship with the parents and hold that relationship before the I suppose privilege of having the relationship with the child. And again, we still see a lot of centres that where that relationship is not really given deep thought. And I think it's so important that the transition, they might have a transition into the centre, and it might be 2 visits, and it might be not well thought through, but can we challenge ourselves to go and really understand how incredibly important it is to have a deep connection with the parents prior to the child starting and prior to that relationship, that attachment, the privilege of that attachment being transferred. And I know that some centres, and that's something that we would love to continue in the operations that we do, is we enroll the whānau, but we have the relationship in the home with the whānau first, and you visit the child and you build trust outside of a setting that's not rushed. And is that a way that we can kind of start to place an importance on it?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and that connection with the home, I think, was it, who was it? Someone that you interviewed was talking about home visits as well, and we did that at Rapeti. And my mother, Yolanda, she spoke of how they always did home visits when she was, working in kindergarten in her 20s. That was something that you did, and that was something really special when the child was coming in, that, the first thing you did was go and meet the parents in the home environment and the child.
Beautiful. It makes a lot of sense to me.
It does. Well, we are currently doing biography interviews as well, which is, it's an opportunity to really have that good quality time with both parents or, or the whānau who wants to come, and the child as well. So the child is able to start feeling comfortable in the environment with all this loving whānau around, and you're hearing the story, hearing the whole story of the family and the aspirations and the journey that they've had so far. So that is another way of having that special time with them prior to starting.
Did you call it biography interviews?
Yes, it is. It has quite a special name, biography interviews. But you're really
beautiful.
Yes, it's quite enriching as well, because you get to know the whānau on a really deep level too, and you start making yourself a little bit vulnerable too. You share a little bit about you at the beginning, and you open the space. You open the space for a heart-to-heart discussion and connection, which leads you on that path. You sort of start a relationship.
That's beautiful.
You jump into the world.
Yeah.
We are the village that's raising a child together, and without relationship with caregivers, it's a strange unfolding that's almost estranged from the way that we've always worked and grown in this world as humans. We wouldn't just give our children to strangers to look after. It's a fairly new way of living, and within the context of where where we are, it's so important. I think to recognize it. So much of change comes through self-awareness. So much of change becomes just of awareness, like the awareness of the moment in time that we find ourselves, the awareness of how society is clashing with biology. The awareness, and so once we're aware, then we can actually be in a place of power to bring change. And so to have these continual conversations, to think like, what is it like for a child to come in? What is it like for a whānau to come in and into a center? And what's it like to actually, how is that natural and is that aligned with our biology? I think those are such rich ideas and conversations.
Yeah.
There's lots to be unpacked in this.
Like you said, can we see with new eyes again?
Robin Grill's Parenting for a Peaceful World, Rick. I don't know if you've come into contact with that book, but I was saying to Jana before, actually, when you look at the history of how humans have treated infants and children, it's quite scary reading. But then you look at the transformation, and we are, continually transforming into better and better ways of being with humans, let alone our beautiful, precious little ones. And it's heartening reading, but you also, part of the book really, then the second part really uncovers what it is that if we are working towards a peaceful world and, a kind world, what are the things that are going to make the difference? And I think that's the thing that speaks to my heart about any of the Pikler, Gerber, Steiner, and even our own beautiful indigenous culture. Like I spoke to you about that, the Mātauranga Māori essence that we've only just started to unpack. And I mean, I don't have any education around this, but some of the articles that I've read, it's just like, oh my goodness, some of the beautiful practices that the child is from Aotearoa, that the child is sacred, that the child's body is sacred, that you would never lay a hand on a child in the sense of punishment, that the child had free movement, that they were able to freely explore and freely play and have free spirit, that they were close in attachment to the mother and the father as they went about their day. Just all of those things, that's what's beautifully rich in all of these approaches. And I think, we can have the confidence to look at Aotearoa and go, actually, we have so much of that here. And I think one of the things for us in Budapest was that we had so many international teachers and lecturers and things saying to us, oh my gosh, you guys are doing such amazing work in New Zealand.
All these people who are here doing this amazing work.
And it was like, not us, as in all of the beautiful, things that they've been reading, the centres they're seeing, the training that's happening. There were so many positive, affirming comments for us. To say, actually, you're getting it so right down under, and I'm going, we're on a good. I think we're on a good path, and I think for us was, how do we then make sure that we can support many people in this country to know and understand this and to grow this peaceful society that we all want to live in.
Yeah, that sounds amazing, and the work that you're doing with Nurture People. How can people get in contact with you, and how does it work? How does your engagement with the teams work?
Well, we're on the start of a real journey with professionals with mentoring. So it can be mentoring individuals, but really you can't really successfully do that unless you're actually connected with the whole team. So that's what we've been really discovering, that you can support individuals, but it really does, especially if it's in the main leadership roles, it really is about the confidence and the growth of everyone. And so what we are bringing is that ability for people who are really maybe struggling to even afford to pay for professional development as such, or are there centres out there that are just like so really wanting to know more, but they don't know where to start. All of those possibilities can come to us. So it could be, an individual teacher that needs support, or a whole team sort of approach. So it's really just about us connecting, really. And if they have a need and they want to find out more, just to contact us through our Facebook page or through our website. And so we can do workshops and things like that, but we can also be in the centre and be supportive and being with the teachers as well. And being trained teachers, that obviously makes that really possible for us.
What is your website?
Pardon?
What is the website address?
So that is www.nurturepeople.org. That's our website. And we also have a Facebook page as well, and we try to be as responsive as possible there. So you can contact us via that too. Then Tineke at nurturepeople.org and Jana at Nurture People as well. So that's the best way to get in touch.
Beautiful. Yeah. And, we're talking to Jana. Sorry, I'll just quickly say we're talking to both Jana and Tineke, just connecting in with the Heart Tribe and the kaupapa that we're doing there to support entire teams. And I'm excited to see where that is. So same thing. If you're interested in connecting in a tribe of mentors, come and just message us and just find out more about the Heart Tribe, because I think that's a way that we can really bring together some of the amazing work that you're doing as well.
Yeah, we love that Heart Tribe, Brick. That sounds
That sounds wonderful.
I love that term. And that's it. I mean, it is all about the heart. But we also have to protect, our hearts as well. And I think, there's a lot of teachers out there who are really feeling it when it comes to their workload. And I think the thing for me and Jana is that when we've discovered this way of being, that it does actually lighten your load. it actually brings a whole new feeling and spirit, and I think that's why we want to share it. So we're so passionate about sharing it because it made such an impact in our lives.
It really has.
Yeah.
Yes. In personal and professional lives too.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
So,
thank you.
It's been absolutely wonderful to talk to you. Nurturepeople.org, is that right? I just see a couple of people asking questions on that.
Yeah.
You guys, you're inspiring. Your heart full of generosity, your knowledge is hopeful for our sector. I really do believe that. So thank you from the bottom of my heart for the work that you're doing. This has been so many.
A small part and a little piece of the puzzle, really. Hey, there's just so many people, but we really are just that one little piece, and it can just be one piece that can make a difference, right? To the whole look.
Everyone doing the best they can, contributing to the conscious collective. Our dream is to inspire, to awaken peace and love in the world. So the book that you recommended, I've written it down. It'll be on my reading list for sure.
Wonderful.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
And hope you guys have a lovely evening. Thank you everyone who joined us tonight for this kōrero. I hope you were as inspired as what I was, and have a lovely evening, everyone. Ka kite anō.
Ka kite.
Ka kite anō.